Hello, 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 hello. Hello, people. Hello. How is it going? Sab changa scene chat if you can hear me. And if you can hear Rohan, Rohan, say hi.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
There seems to be an issue. Say again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. If you can hear Rohan, sab changa scene chat or say yes, yes, yes in chat so we know you can hear us. And today we are talking about moderated user studies and user testing combined along with it that we do at Headout. So make sure you hit that like button. And I understand IPL is still going on, so we thank you so much for taking out time. Those of you who are right here. And let's get started. Hit that like button so more people join in. All the YouTube is gonna send out notification. Ankit Patel is here. Hello, Ankit Patel. Who
Hey,
all are here? Let's hear hi. Can you hear Rohan Dev? Rohan Dev, say hello to people.
Hey Ankit, how's it going?
I know the thumbnail was misleading. RD here does false advertisement, so could not have helped it because he refuses to send latest pictures. Heavy designer OP Akash Goyal is there.
Crazy. What's
This
happening, Akash?
one is our Akash for sure. Is it our Akash? No, this is some other Akash.
No, it isn't? Oh.
Yeah, this is use fonts Akash. Hello, use fonts Akash. Thank you for that suggestion on because I remember him from giving that suggestion on Twitter. Prasad is here. Hello, Ronak is here. Can you folks hear Rohan? That's my biggest question right now. Can you folks hear Rohan?
Oh. You can't hear me? No. Akash is saying no.
Oh. Okay, let me keep saying something, Rohan. I'm gonna hear the audio myself.
You can't hear me? To keep rambling. Intense.
I think people can.
Yes, we can.
Yes. Awesome. So, folks, today we are talking about a feature that Rohan worked on. It's called Universal Search. We're gonna get all in the details of it. What is it? Why is it? How did it happen? And why we decided to test it? And how did we test it? How did we build user studies around it? What we went out there to test and what we actually found out. What was the format? The report, everything we're gonna take a deep dive into today. Super excited. Keep your questions ready. Keep your all items ready because it's gonna be a crazy show today for all of you. Let's get started. So Rohan, welcome, and those who of you don't know, Rohan is one of the oldest designers. He's the bar of when it comes to Headout design. He's the bar of Headout design. So let's have Rohan OP in the chat. ROP. Let's do it short. Let's do ROP in chat, and we're gonna get started. When we see ROP rolling in, we know it's cue to get started. Rohan, say hi to all of them once again.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Super hectic. Let's do this.
All right. So, Rohan, first of all, we're gonna get to the feature, right? What is it even? So I'll open the prototype, the desktop prototype of the first the city search.
Yep.
So ROP is happening. Let's hear 2-3 more ROP. Come on, folks. Come on. Are you gonna take that ROP home? And 16 people watching and just 3 likes. बहुत ना इंसाफी है ये. Let's RDXOP. Yes, RDX is even better. RDXOP.
What's happening?
Siddharth Jha is here. Siddharth Jha, I hope you saw the new episode of Intern Kumar. It's out there already. All right, we have ROP that has happened. So we're gonna get started right away. I'm gonna share my screen, and we are starting. 1 second. Guest screen share, and here we are. So this is the Figma prototype, and Rohan, what are we looking at? So this is Headout homepage, right?
Wait, hold on. I can't see what you're sharing.
Okay, so I'll have to share the screen. 1 second. I hope that doesn't mess up the entire thing. Let's hope. And oh no, it's sharing the entire screen. Hold on. That's not what I wanted. Share screen. Just Figma. Where is Figma? Okay. And share. Now you can see, right? Oops.
Yeah.
No, but that messes up the entire. Okay, I will have to find a different way to do it. So I'll have to just describe to you.
Okay.
So I'll just walk people through because the screen share is not working. What used to happen? You used to come on Headout page, homepage, and this is the homepage, earlier homepage as you could see, and you would click here first to describe the city, which city you wanted to go into. So Headout is in New York, it's in Hong Kong, it's in Dubai. You would select a city here, and then the homepage would reload and change, and you would go to different pages. Is that right, Rohan?
Yeah. Basically, to explore or just like browse on Headout, you had to select a city first before doing anything, which kind of was a blocker because you weren't like free to explore easily. You had to keep changing the city. Your search also was depending on which city you selected. So say if I wanted to go to basically somewhere in UK, right? And I want to do like London and maybe Oxford or something like that. I would have to keep changing that. So if I just wanted to search something to do in Oxford when London was selected, I would not get any results at all, right? So that was a little bit of a pain, and it was could be better. So that's why we would like let's get rid of city selection as a first step
Right.
and be able to just search wherever you want to go.
I think we had some smart look of full story sessions as well, and we spoke to multiple. When we looked at the data, like people did not care. So here's the assumption: there are multiple ways we found out that people don't care about this. What was happening was in our head, you need to browse head out in some city, right? You need to be going somewhere. You won't just openly browse. So we said, okay, first select the city, and then you browse head out. The issue with that is people are like, I'll just browse. Like, why do I need to select a city first? It's not like a like a Uber, or it's not like a Gozeppo or a Rento Mojo, or like like a one of these places where you need to put a e-commerce site where you need to put a place like Big Basket, right? You need to put your city first and then you browse, because you could be browsing from anywhere, right? It's not hyper local service. And so what we realized, that people did not care what was in the city, as you see here, whether it was Dubai or whatever. They would just still go ahead and put Disneyland Paris here and search, and the search result page then, the first actually improvement we did, the search result page did not show you results from other cities earlier. That was a
Yeah,
crazy. So
that
and
was
then
in
long back, then we decided, okay, no, you could be searching from anywhere. Then we like, if they're searching from anywhere anyway, and data tells us that, that means they don't care about the city construct. So how can we remove it, right? And this is where we come to universal search, which I'm gonna try and show you on the live website itself. Just give me a
That's also where when we did add for you to be able to search anywhere, basically show those results on the search results page. That also was a little messed up because you would first see this results in the city you selected, and then below that would be like worldwide, and over there everything else would get dumped. So it was a little messy.
right.
It wouldn't even show like results nearby or anything like that.
So this is what the new result page, the result page look like, where you can see the worldwide thing. This is what we added. There's a feature we added. The worldwide section I'm showing on the research result page that used to highlight and we saw that most people click here because they don't care about the city construct. So now if you go on Headout, there is no city drop down, right? There is no city drop down. In fact, there's just search, as you can see right here. You just go ahead and search. So this is what we call universal search. Means you can search anything anywhere, right? And Rohan was working on the search, and another thing we added here was the search suggestions, which we're going to get into detail into that, how the search suggestion works. So for example, I'm looking at Dubai frame, right? So I start typing Dubai frame and search suggestions come. Our idea is that we don't want you to eventually land on the page. Hopefully what you're looking for will come right here, because if you have very specific intent like Dubai frame, then more our hypothesis, you'll be searching, otherwise you'd be browsing somewhere here. And as you can see the city construct is still here on the home page. I'm showing the city selection. And if I click on Dubai, you land on the Dubai homepage of Headout. And this is what the city dropdown used to do.
Of the
Sorry?
someone can't see the header.
Oh, my bad. There you go, folks. There you go. So now, I'd be searching for Dubai frame like that. And these are the suggestions. And this is the Dubai homepage. And this is what you would get earlier. Now it's all behind the scenes. Now our question was, I know that for most of you, like, you just have search there. Why did you do all of that jazz earlier? So those of you, we agree. That's exactly what our users, were signaling us, and that's why we moved in that direction. Rohan, you'll have to stay in the center of the screen. So alignment, Rohan, alignment.
I don't know the view, but okay, now I'm looking at the view.
Yeah. A little towards your right.
My right, okay, this is my
Towards the left. Perfect. Just stay there. Yeah. So now the thing was, okay, we have replaced a major functionality. Does it even make sense to users? That was the biggest question, right? How do we decide which feature or product needs user testing? Trisha, most of the complex projects, like anything that does not is not just a minor improvement, that can't just be a A/B test, simple A/B test. We typically try to test. Of course, it depends on bandwidth limitation and other priorities. But typically at Headout, all things that can't be A/B tested or are not as simple as an A/B test are usually candidate for testing. Even some things like RDX auto layout yourself. Definitely, I agree with that, sir. So now Rohan had this task where he had to test with users, live users. Does search even work? Does it even make sense? Because many stakeholders inside the company were like, holy crap, you took away that city drop down. How are people going to find anything in this? Right? That was the reaction. And we were the opposite. We were like, no, they don't care. And
Yeah.
this is what the entire thing was. This is what initiated the study. But I will let Rohan take over as to then what happened next, Rohan. Like, where did we go from there? Like, did we just go ahead and test, or was there something in between happening as well?
No, so basically, once we figured out like what was the feature that we wanted to create, and we created, we did a bunch of like internal testing first, right? We checked with first, obviously, the design team to make sure like everything is all good and sound. Once that was sorted, then we kind of made, then we started preparing for user testing, and for user testing, we did an internal first, and where we kind of tested the kind of tasks we were giving to the user to test, right, and see if like that made sense or not. So when we did do that, we found out like a few of the tasks that we were giving could be tweaked and made better, right? That helped us fine tune the kind of tasks that we were giving, and then we kind of moved on to external testing.
Right.
From external testing, then sure, we did the whole task thing,
But
and
before we get to that juicy part, I have some initial question to ask. Adi, how do you even test search? Like, did remember we started with Figma prototype? Why did that fail?
oh, that was just I don't know.
Let me
Like
show people. Let me show people that Figma
question
prototype.
like how were we gonna do this? Honestly, we're just lucky that the product also was live at the same time, so we could use it. But if I had to do it via prototype, it was gonna be super hard because we weren't able to check everything like how search suggestions worked, right? And if someone was searching for something else, like this, the prototype would be very like streamlined. You wouldn't be dynamic, right? It would be very static. So that way, I felt like it wasn't really doing its best as like a testing prototype.
Right.
And also the other part which we realized was, I mean, exactly how do you test search, right? Like it was a very specific thing. It's literally like saying, okay, just go search this, and that we know, of course, it'll work. But like as a feature, as a function, like does it actually add any more value or benefit to it?
Would you
Which
would you use it if we didn't ask you to use it?
would I use search?
No, that was one of our questions.
Which was a lot of them didn't really use search. Few of them did use it and they got where they needed to. But there was another group of people who were like just browsing through Headout, going through the website, and they basically were just exploring. And from there, they found what they needed to. And
Right.
there were a bunch of users that didn't even use search, right?
Even
So
though even though we gave them a task like
yeah,
that.
to search, but then they were like category pages and all that were right there. So I mean category cards, so they would just select on that and they were like, oh, I found what I needed to do, right? True. So a bunch of them didn't use search, which was insane. But that's why we kind of kept it like quite general and open. Sure, the intent was for them to use search, but we also wanted to just see how a user in general was just browsing and trying to narrow down and select a particular experience, right? So though we wanted the user to use search, we didn't really limit it to that. Also, it wasn't that easy to test it out with the prototype. So yeah, that's basically about it.
Right. So I think the first round of it, just to summarize, just those of you who were not able to catch up with that speed of Rohan Dev right here, I'll just pace it a little bit. So the first problem that we faced was of course we have a prototype, right? But in prototype, like you can see on the screen, you can only type London. these are very static prototypes. Even if we went toward a framework prototype and allowed anything to type, we were not getting the actual search suggestion from the algorithm like we would, right? So that's problem number one. That if you really want to test search, you need the live search algorithm. That's where we had to kind of wait for the product to be out. Luckily, like Rohan said, we didn't have to wait very long. By the time we got ready with the test and everything, the product was out, so we were able to test with the live actual production test. The second problem statement was, of course, like, this this is static and does not have the actual results, and B, how do you, like, what task do you give users? Okay, go on headout.com and search for this, but how do you know they would have looked like? That's not how real life users work, right? Users browse a website, and during the browsing they may use search if they feel like, right? And the question was also, if they want to find search and they want to use search, are they able to find search? Are they able to make sense of it? So that is how we designed that task. We refined that task with internal testing. When we kept giving in these internal tasks to these users, we kept realizing internal stakeholders, oh, this is how they're interpreting the task. So we changed it a little, changed it again. And we decided to increase the scope of the study from just universal search to browsing behavior patterns, right? The biggest reason is users don't search in isolation. Search is a browsing tool, and that is where the scope of study increases. I'm just going to quickly show you the studies abstract, right? And this is one of the key things that it marks as well. That is you, if you look at the goals, it's all related to search, but then you realize that universal search is replacing etc. But however, the customers don't use search feature in isolation. It's one of the tools available to them while browsing, and we want to see in the entire context how this works. So this was the context where we realized that you can't just test search. You need to search. You need to observe the entire usability. Sorry, the browsing behavior at Headout. So what was the next step when we were ready with this?
The other limitation that was just there with like the prototype was, say we told them to search for something in Dubai, right? And if they just typed in Burj, for example, it could be Burj Khalifa, it could be Burj Arla, but all that wouldn't populate over here on this prototype, right? And for us to notice like which one were they selecting, also like were they selecting a product or were they selecting like a category page, right? So all that we couldn't pick up from this prototype because it was very static.
Right. Thompson has a very good question. Do you folks have search data? Yes, we do. Did you look into it? For sure. That is one of the key reasons this design got initiated. Like I was mentioning earlier, we realized that our assumption was this was the hypothesis that if the city selection is useful, then people would change the city selection to make their search more refined. But we realized from search data that people were searching with anything in any city. They were using search as an open field. That's what data told us. There's much more data, like how many search misses, and like you said, who searches more than the other. Of course, people coming from the web search more, and people on the app have slightly different behavior unless they are looking for something very specific. So, but again, like without getting into those nuances, the first level of data told us that people don't care about city construct as much as we do, and in fact, it gets in people's way at times. They get confused at times. So that is what led to that, and definitely we have data. Yeah. So for at what point in their journey, there are 2-3 points that we notice. Some people just land directly and start searching. There are 2-3 segments of people. Those people are very brand aware. Like people in Dubai, I would totally expect somebody to just come on headout.com and start searching for Dubai frame. But in other markets, you may be browsing something and then end up searching something else, right? Because a keyword gets triggered. So there's no set pattern as to when you search or how, but we do have data on how many times you search before you get there, how many search you miss.
Search more than like people who are coming from outside.
Sorry, who search?
For example, people who are staying in Dubai, where
Right.
Headout is very prominent over there. So over there, they would just pick up and like they would use. Then again, when you come to London West End, right? Locals who just want to pick up a show, right? So those guys will just search like whatever show they want to go for, and they would
Right.
get their results.
So we realize brand affinity is one of the factors as well for searching, because those are the two top things that our brand is known for in those areas. So I hope that answers the question, Thompson. Really appreciate the question. Divyansh has just joined in. I hope you will catch up soon. And what was the next step, RD? So we decided, okay, we want to test search, but we can't test search just in isolation. So we create these broader tasks. What were these tasks like? And what kind of problems did we face? I'm quickly going to switch to reports so people can read the task. and this comes in methodology, as you folks can see. Task number one was holiday and this is the intro we gave to people, that hey, holiday season is approaching and you have just heard about Headout, which is perfect for you to plan your trip. So we had to plant the idea that you're aware of Headout. Again, remember brand affinity, we were trying to mimic that. Then second, the first task was you're visiting Dubai during Christmas with your family. The Burj is a must-see do on your list. Shortlist a Burj experience you would like to go for. But how, Ardi, how is that related to search? It doesn't even ask user to search.
I'm just opening up the doc. Hold on.
Hardik Pandya is here. Hello, welcome Hardik. How's it going? Yeah, how's it going? How's it going? So the first task, like if you look at it, it's not even asking user to search, and that was one of the important things for us to do, because remember, we are not sitting there when our users land on the website, right? We don't tell them, hey, if you want this, you search. We don't get to tell them. They just have a purpose, some purpose like this, right? Some intent like this. For example, you're visiting Dubai during Christmas with your family and fine. And this is one of the realistic scenarios we know from our actual customers. So we're trying to mimic that again. And whether our hypothesis was that if we give this specific thing, right, look for Burj experience, most likely thing you would do is search for Burj, right? But did that happen or not? RD will tell us.
True. So basically, how we went about creating these tasks was, first of all, we wanted to make it like a very thematic thing, where you had to be feel like you were in that specific scenario, right? And that's why we were like, okay, it's during Christmas, and we added like the whole element of like family and friends, because again, your behaviors of when you're selecting a particular experience when you're going on vacations, those patterns change when it's like for family and when it's with friends and stuff like that. So we thought we'd add that little mix, and that's why we gave like multiple tasks for that, right? So we knew we wanted to test search for sure, right? And that's why we were like, okay, let's narrow down on a specific Burj experience, right? Because like Burj is like the must thing to do over there, and you need to basically narrow down. So we wanted to give a little bit more of a direct ask in a way, but not really direct to the user to know that they have to search Burj Khalifa. So that's why the task is in such a way that, like, okay, because it's Burj, our whatever assumption is that you would just use search and type in Burj and just go over there to whatever the Burj product page or the category page, and from there basically narrow down on which experience you wanted to select, right? So that was basically for task one, right? Then we were like, okay, cool. Task one is quite straightforward, and it's directly into like searching for something and getting that result. And then we were like, okay, let's do task two, where we give you a little broader term, where we're not really saying you got to select a specific experience, but rather just figure out your trip, right? So like here we were like, okay, it's a New Year's Eve thing, and you're going with your friends, and it's Bangkok, right? So basically figure out like a 1 day itinerary, so something for like the daytime and something for nighttime, right? So over here we realized, okay, people were like, the minute we said New Year's Eve, everyone went and was like New Year's Eve parties, right? Which I did not expect at all, like in the search. So for task one, where I expected people to search for Burj, they just actually on a header, we actually have Burj Khalifa as a category highlighted over there. So a lot of people noticed that and they clicked on it in a way, ensure that that was another way of like validating that category strip that we have on the header, that okay, people do interact with it and use it a lot.
This is the item Rohan is talking about, as you can see on the screen. This is what people just right away found. They're like Burj, and on header.com on header it says right there Burj. In fact,
Never,
you would say this is Dubai homepage. I'll go to main homepage because we sell it so much. Even there, it's right there. Burj Khalifa tickets. People just clicked.
so for task one, yeah, a very small number actually used search. So when I created these tasks, I thought of it the other way around, where for task one, you would definitely use search, but that was the whole idea behind task one, where the user had to use search, but it didn't turn out that way. All the users were just clicking on that and they didn't really use search. Well, task two was more on like, okay, you can use search. I mean, you could use search. It was kind of like an addition to it. And we just wanted to see how they were exploring and browsing on Headout. but it turned out the other way around, where people on task 2 were directly searching like New Year's Eve parties and things to do on like New Year's Eve and stuff like that, and they were searching for those kind of results, which was super insightful, because like we never really thought like, okay, people would search for these kind of keywords. And sure, another issue was when we were doing this, it was during the pandemic, so everything was shut. So when they were actually searching for New Year's Eve, um, those keywords didn't really like pop up, like no experiences and all popped up because everything was shut. So they were just like, okay, does this work or not? And we had to like reassure them like, no, it's just New Year's Eve, everything is shut and because of pandemic. So that's why the results aren't populating. But we asked them to like just go ahead otherwise and see like how else would you just plan your trip, right? The other thing which we did was for mainly for task 2, which was because you're planning a day itinerary, you don't always do it on headout.com. Like we wanted to see how people normally plan their itineraries, and we allow them to like open up Google. A bunch of them opened up like our competitors' websites, and they were seeing like what's happening over there. People were reading blog articles and seeing like, okay, if what is the top things to do, and then they would come back on Headout, and then they would search again, saying like, okay, say if there's some boat ride, I think there's a market or something like that, floating market in Bangkok. So they would be like, okay, that's a must visit. So then they would come back to Headout and they would search. So that way I would know like, okay, search was working because the results were coming back.
Right.
Uh,
And another fascinating thing we did, Thompson, I'm going to take a question quickly, but another fascinating thing we did, Rohan, was uh, there are two ways this task got initiated. Okay, all right. So the setup is again we invite them, we set up a time, we get on a Zoom call or a Skype call, we ask them to share their screen, we tell them, hey, is it okay if we record this, and this is what purposes we use it for. And once we are on, there are two cases. Either we tell them to share browser and open headout.com before all of this starts, or we tell them nothing at all.
so yeah, true. Yeah.
And we did it both ways. And what it revealed to us will blow your mind. But before we get there, Thompson asked a very interesting question. What was the sample size for this? We had, I think, 6 external and 5 internal users.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
6 external people and 5 internal people. Nowhere as many people as you would like to test, but like we said back then, we were testing it when everything was let's shut in. Sourcing people is hard. It's one of the key problems we are trying to solve ourselves. How we source was social media posts. We reached out to our friends. Rohan reached out to most of his friends,
Yeah.
given a criteria, and so it was Rohan's friends mostly, mixed with a couple of our friends. But Rohan, why did we decide to like? I remember us having that discussion. Should we like tell them to open headout.com or not? And what difference did it make? And how did it come about?
Oh, so like the whole idea behind that was so the thing with going on headout.com was we're basically limiting that user on how that user was actually browsing and exploring, because they had to make an itinerary, right? And we wanted to understand how a user normally goes about this, right? Ron has a lot of friends in places. So I was just reading comments over here on the side as well. So by doing that on Headout, that was basically a big limitation because we weren't really able to understand how a user actually browses and explores and basically narrows down, right? So the thing so it was actually kind of fascinating because we didn't really tell them like, okay, use Headout. We just said like, use like Google and just go for it. And like I said, a lot of them went to our competitors, few of them read like blogs and stuff like that. But then there was this one thing which really stood out where people were going on Instagram and they were checking hashtags like New Year's Eve Bangkok hashtag, and they were seeing all the posts, and then they were seeing locations, and from there they were seeing like on the pictures like how happening was that place, and from there they were like, okay, let's do this, let's not do this, and so on and so forth, which was super insightful because I did not even picture that. Like I had no like idea like, okay, that was a pattern that people were using, and like using that to basically select whatever experience they wanted to do.
And it gave
Um,
us like insight which we would have never had otherwise. Like we are legit, if they had this intent legit live, it's not like unless they knew Headout, they wouldn't come to Headout, and this is what they would do, right? And another thing we noticed was we saw them use search on our competitor's website and how that fun compared to our own. Like that also happened. I think that happened with a lot of internal users as well. That is what this led to, and that is why we felt comfortable calling this headout browsing behavior. And we can remove the qualifier headout as well. This is headout's report, but it's general consumer browsing behavior when they browse for these kind of intents that we know exist out there in the market. Like Rohan said, it gave us insights like people search on Instagram. Like could have never imagined that happens, and these are the kind of insights we gain. And these were the tasks. So I hope that gives you clarity on task. So super qualitative study, yes. The entire intention of this was qualitative. We had data otherwise. We try not to mix those because the kind of insights you want to get in qualitative studies is why are they doing this, right? And we'll get to a lot of that. So Rohan, we started out with the goal of learning does search work or not, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we learned? And or should I ask the question, is that all that we learned?
I mean, like, for sure, search would work, but that wasn't like the only thing we learned. Like, it was mainly in pertaining to just how people were exploring and browsing. So, like, the biggest thing that we realized was images, right? Images were everything that would sell a product. I remember people were looking at a few products. So when we were doing the user testing, we kept asking whoever it was to always like try to speak aloud. So whenever they were hovering on something or whenever they were deciding, so just we know like where they are at right now. And a lot of them, I remember one of them just went over a picture of some show and was like, "Oh, this looks a little shady." And I was like, "Well, like why?" But like, and that was like a really good show, but that user thought like that show was a little shady just because of the cover image that was there.
Right.
So that was super helpful. Then another thing which we realized was we had issues internally with like our naming conventions for products, right? So we had Burj Khalifa, and I think there was like a Dubai Aquarium. It was Dubai Aquarium and Zoo. That's what the experience is called. And in a few places we just say Dubai Aquarium. In a few places we say Dubai Aquarium and Zoo. I'm just guessing because like character limit or whatever. I don't know why, but a lot of people were just wondering like, are these two different products? And then they would go to Google and they would see, and they're like, oh, it's the same thing, right? And Burj, so little context, Burj Khalifa and what do you call the Dubai Aquarium Zoo is basically in Burj Khalifa, right? And this is like a combo product that we sell. And people would always go and Google like, how far is it from each other? And then they would just be like, oh, it's like literally in the same place. Like you don't have to worry about this. What else did we find interesting? Sure, images was one. Then how people were going about reading names and stuff like that. So a lot of them would just pick up keywords and they would just match it because a lot of them time they were like comparing multiple products, right? So people would like while they were browsing through, they would open like multiple tabs of different products and they would just keep like toggling through and keep comparing. Um, while they were comparing, we realized like where we had the booster icons, right? Not the booster icons, the quick summary icons, the descriptor icons.
I don't think people know. I'll just show them what we mean by that. So let's
True.
say you land on one of these pages, and this is where product images are. These are what icons Rohan is talking about. Yeah, go ahead, Rohan. These are the icons.
Yeah, those icons. So people were just quickly comparing between those and seeing like, okay, this one is giving me like what do you call fast track. This one is not doing a fast track, but this one has like a cashback. This one doesn't have a cashback. And from there, they would like quickly compare, and then they would narrow down to like maybe two, three, and then those two, three products, they would read the entire page. Like they would go like from top to bottom and back on top and do it like two, three times, ensuring like they've understood what this product entails. And from there, they would decide like which one to go for, right? So that was another thing which we realized was these descriptors were super helpful and super insightful. A lot of information which is hidden in the product copy area, which is like below highlights and stuff like that. Things like, is it beneficial? I mean, is it good for family or is it good for like couples or whatever, right? So those kind of things were hidden below in your product copy, and a lot of them were saying like, why couldn't we have this upfront? Because they were basically looking at, because the scenario was based on such, right, where we were saying like, you're going with friends, you're going with your family, so they wanted to know like, okay, is this good for us, like with our family, yes or no? Yeah, I guess that's basically about it. Let me think if I can think of other things.
I think that's a lot. And like in the end, Rohan, what happened? So we went out to like prove this hypothesis of our. The hypothesis from our stakeholders was that people will not understand this new search you have created, and
Oh,
that got like resolved like that. What
people,
we, yeah,
like, people didn't care. Like, even if like city thing was there or not, like people were just like, as long as I could get to where I wanted to, that's it. Like, and beyond that, no issues. Like they don't care at all.
yeah.
And our search did that, so that way it was like a win for us.
So search. So imagine the report from Adi, right? Oh, we went out to test search. Search works for sure. But here are like 5 other observations and learning that we learned that will blow your mind. So this is the benefit we saw from a one moderated user study. Adi, you'll have to realign yourself.
Oh shit.
Before the designer's OCD, and this is the format we follow, folks. We have an observation and then we present evidence for it, and they're often followed up by recommendations, like what kind of recommendations do we do, and there are multiple such things, and in the end we have like detailed notes that you can have. So of course can't show you the entirety of it right away, of course there are confidential material in there, but RD has pretty much summarized what all we learned during these user studies. So now you went on these calls, right, and you walked them through, and we often talk about not asking user to describe their own behavior, right? Like, but I remember we did that. Like, often towards the end, we were like, "Why did you do that?" Do you want to talk about like how effective or not effective was that, and when and how we decided to do that?
So that was basically just I guess because it was on Zoom and like you're doing it like over call, couldn't really just feel more connected and understand exactly what they were doing. It was a little difficult because you couldn't see like where exactly they're looking at and stuff like that. If it was someone in front of me, I could see like, okay, their eyes are going here, they're looking at this. But here I'm just looking at like a cursor just roaming around. Sometimes the cursor is also not moving. They're just, I don't know where their eyes are going. But we had to keep asking them like what were they thinking about and what decisions they were making, just to understand better why they did whatever they did, right? Without that, otherwise it would be like super hectic and we wouldn't be able to, I mean, sure, we could make assumptions, but it wouldn't be like factual assumptions, and which is what helped when we asked them like, so during the entire user testing we were asking them to like speak aloud, like whatever they were thinking out, to speak it out loud. After that, we basically made some notes internally, and we would ask them like, so I remember a few places. Someone wanted to, they were converting to Britain pounds, and they would go and open a new tab Google, and they would do a currency exchange with converter over there to figure out what the prices were. Because I think on the website it was showing in another currency, but that user is used to seeing currencies in pounds, and that's how they were like just relating and seeing like if it was worth the money or not.
Right.
And afterwards, we didn't say anything during the testing period. It was after that when I asked, and I was just like, why didn't you just change the currency, right? Like you could just click over here and basically change the currency. And that person was just like, oh no, it like my flow and my method is so and so. So I just went ahead and did that. But I was just like, but that it's right there. It was right on top. Like all you have to just click on it and you can click change. So yeah, so few things like this, which just made clear that they had like a few user behavior patterns which you used to, right? And they just went ahead with it. So that way, like, because initially I was worried for a minute because I was like, wait a minute, is that not prominent enough, or not like did the user not notice it, or whatever it may be that the user, why the user not click on that,
This
right?
is the feature everyone is talking about. This currency drop down.
Yeah, it made the user's life so much easier, right? But that was just the user's natural habit of just going ahead and
Probably they
opening
worked in banking or finance sector.
probably.
Hit that like button if you haven't already. If you learned something new, let us know that you're learning something new by hitting that like button and typing RDXOP in chat if you're learning something new. And Rohan, now we come to the interesting part, Rohan. Okay, most people will like, oh great, so you created tasks, you created this, you went on Skype calls and everything, and boom, this report was here. But we know that wasn't that easy. Doing calls is one thing, making a report out of it is another deal. So this long ass report, how did you go about it? What and how many rewrites did it take?
It took a couple of rewrites for sure. There was a lot of internal reviews with the design team, going ahead and seeing like everything was all right. But just figuring out what to put on the report was a bit tricky initially, because I really wasn't sure like how do I compile all this information in and put it over here. So we basically just broke it down where we kind of pointed out main concerns, right? So once I pointed out those main concerns, I even put like evidence like at this timestamps and quoted whoever, right, and said like user said this or user did this, and always provide evidence for that, right? And once that was shown, then it was more like, okay, but here would be like my recommendations on how we could tackle this whatever problem or situation that is being presented over here. Um, yeah, and that's basically about it. So I basically just picked up like made a list of all the major observations that I had or whatever concerns that I had, and basically just put them down in pointers, saying these were the issues, and here's the proof that this was so and so happening. And after that, put down whatever my recommendation was.
Right. For
Um,
example, here RD recommends for the images thing we're talking about. Before I get to recommendations, one of my experience that I'll tell you from images. I remember this is internal user testing that I was part of. I was an observer, and by the way, our format of the call is one observer and one designer. The main designer is talking in everything, and the observer is silent, usually taking a lot of notes. They become the peers to review their report that they also observed, and you are describing accurately what they saw as well. Now coming to one of the as an observer, when I was studying, participating in one of the studies, I realized that it was internal user testing, and what I realized that we asked the person to look for we asked the person to research Bangkok. They went they went to a competitor website. This is one of the cases where when we did not tell them to open Headout, and they start looking, and suddenly they click on museums. Now the tricky bit was it clearly mentioned museums there, and they were verbalizing out loud, I'm looking for amusement parks, I'm looking for like theme parks or whatever, and they click on that. And later realize, wait, like, why did I land on museums, right? But if you rewind the video, couple of, not this one, but like the video we recorded that we can't show here, you can see the image legit looks like a theme park, like, one of those well lit this thing, where you can whatever the image says because of the perceptuary the information will override whatever you're reading below. Like people just ignored the text and just went via images. Like I would have confused that image to be amusement park, and then as confirmatory question that I was talking about, we later on asked our hypothesis was we did not ask them to look for amusement park. Why did this person go looking for amusement park? So we asked them, do you usually look for amusement parks when you go to new cities? And they were like, yeah, that's my thing. So that's what I was trying to do here. And you would think this is about amusement parks, but what we learned out of all of this was how important images are. Do you test with one user at a time during internal testing? Yes, only one user at a time. Only one user at a time.
we do hectic with multiple people.
We'll go mad. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Observing what they're up to, you're trying to make notes,
Right.
Trying to figure out what are follow-up questions, like because things like didn't make sense or like whatever they were doing, right? If you had to do like for 2-3 people, God. Lose it.
And these are individual notes which I won't open for obvious reasons, but these are individual notes that first were drafted. So we recorded all the sessions. From each recording, Rohan rewatched each session, took these individual notes. When he was done individual notes for multiple people, that's when these patterns emerged and were like, then these observations were presented in this neat format. It took us a very long time. It took us just a month to write this report. Of course, this was the first ever report written at Headout. So we kept experimenting with the format till it made sense. And once this format emerged, now all the reports are that much faster. So that was our. And how would you say your experience was, Rohan? Meanwhile, folks, hit up your questions. We are close to the closing time, so hit us up with your questions so we can take them ASAP.
If you'll ever do like user testing, record. Like that thing is a blessing. Because I remember for internal testing, one or two we didn't record. And later on when I was doing the report and I had to like come back and be like, what were they saying? I couldn't remember, I couldn't recall because there was just so much to consume, right? But like for the external testing, everyone was recorded and it was super helpful because I had to like Sid mentioned, I rewatched the videos like multiple times, and every time I watched it, I thought like, okay, this is it, and I found out like whatever I needed to find out. But then I would watch it again, and I would notice something else. I still feel like if I watch it now again, I might pick up on something else as well. But yeah, always have recordings. Super helpful.
Right.
Because again, like you would be doing the user testing over a span of multiple days, right? So the recordings is always there for you to know, like, okay, what actually happened.
And Trisha Gore is asking, if you were testing Figma prototype, would you go for platforms like Userberry? I'm guessing this is something like usertesting.com. You could use Figma Framer or even live website there. I'm guessing if you could send a link, it could be any link. But that's more to do with sourcing. Thompson is asking, interesting. I wonder how it has changed how you think about search. So Thompson, what we realize out of all of this is search is a minor tool which is not very relevant. If people are looking to search, people prefer to search on Google. Like forget every other website. Why can't I just search Go and like? So as a discovery platform, the idea is to show up on Google results. Was the conclusion that our search doesn't even matter, but that's what reality user testing shows you, the reality, right? Provocation: would designing the best search eat up your discovery sales? Not at all. Not at all. Would designing the best? In fact, designing the best search may actually increase our sales and user retention. Because we know there are so many searches we miss out, which are not yet live or not yet gone ahead, and we can capture them and ask them coming soon or things like that. So, in fact, it will increase our attention in some ways, like in long tail ways, in my hypothesis as a PM. Hello, Balaji Rao, good to see you here. Shreya Shekhar is also here. Shreya Shekhar, good to see you here. And all right, I think we have taken all the questions. And one last question that I have for something is there. Some BTS, if one of the sessions RD forgot to enable screen sharing and the candidate went, I don't have permission, and RDX responded with very audible fuck. So that is why you invite your friends.
True.
भाई background change कर दिया. कौन सा background Sahas? Hello Karthik, you are late. Make sure you rewind and watch. And yes, RD, I think we gotta work on that bit, I guess. And look at Siddharth just spilling internal secrets. What is this? What is this, Mr. Jha? Will
like everything stays.
Yeah, Jha, we are talking tomorrow morning. I'll see you tomorrow morning in the stand-up. इस एक चीज का हिसाब लिया जाएगा जहाँ सुबह. RD, that translation is I'll make you pay for it roughly.
Oh, sorted.
You have to translate Hindi for RD. Once again, RD, thank you so much for coming and sharing this wonderful insight with us. If you have more questions for RD, you can hit him up on Twitter. You can hit him up on Instagram. One more thing, this is not the only report RD has done. And in fact, we have done an earlier live stream on moderated user studies with Murari Jha in English. If you haven't checked that out, do check that out. That was using a framework prototype. And this one is another moderated user study that we have done. But Rohan has also done non-moderated user session studies where we went ahead and watched recorded sessions of on our websites, which by default are not moderated because we are not there, and made a report out of it. And if you folks are interested, two requirements. If we hit 35 likes, we're just 4 more to go, right? Just 4 people need to like. If we hit 35 likes and if we see 10 RDXOP in chat, then I will convince RD to come on this channel again and talk to us about the non-moderated user study report. Because that's a whole different game. Here we give the user the task. There we don't know what user did. We just go and watch what they did on our website. So let's hear RDXOP. We have hit 35 likes. Let's have 10 RDXOP. 3, okay, 3 done. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. RD, you are officially invited to present. We'll give you a break, not right next weekend, but please come back and tell us and share with us the non-moderated user studies with recorded live sessions. And those of you who don't know how we do that, there are things like Smart Look and Full Story, which you can include on your website and record user sessions. Of course, there are privacy, etc. things that you should be aware of. Given that we are in e-commerce, for multiple reasons, we have it. Look at the amount of RDXOP going on in the chat. People really want it. Can we say Hotjar heat maps as unmoderated one? Just heat map would not be enough. You would want the passage of time as well. Just a static heat map may not be enough. But if you have recorded sessions on heat maps, recorded sessions on Hotjar, then definitely it is unmoderated sessions that you're watching. And once again, thank you RD for coming on and sharing all of this with us. RDXOP has happened in chat. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, for sure. This is super fun, man. Thanks for.
And most of all, thanks to you folks for joining in and making this happen. Each week, I hope you're having fun and learning something new. Our goal is to hit 5,000 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed by June, so we just have April and May. So June end and June. So we have just 2.5 months to go, or less than 2.5 months to go. So please help by sharing it with your friends and asking them to subscribe as well. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit that like button. You subscribe. Once again, thank you for joining in over this weekend. Thank you so much for watching. And good night. Shabba Khair. Shubh Ratri. Do you want to say any last words? Bye.
Thanks for being here, everyone. See you all next time.
See you all next time. Sayonara. Good night. Shabba Khair. Shubh Ratri. Love you. Marry me, etc. etc.
Epic.